Welcome to part 2 of organizing data. First we'll be looking at graphs and charts for qualitative data. We'll also be looking at how to use Microsoft Excel to create some of these charts. Here's the first data set we want to consider. A group of students was asked whether they prefer to affiliate with a Democratic, Republican, or other political party, and here are the results. One of the first things you notice with a table like this is it's fairly difficult to assimilate this. So are there more Democrats or Republicans or others? What's the relative size, say, of the responses of Democrats compared to the number of responses that are others? These sorts of judgments are hard to make unless we can somehow summarize these data. Now, of course, some of us might be able to look at a set of this size and come to pretty good intuitive conclusions, but certainly all of us have some point at which we're not able to do that without some help. For instance, if we had a set that was 10 or 100 times this size, most of us would find ourselves really overwhelmed with the amount of information, and we'd need to summarize that. One of the most common ways of doing that is with a frequency and relative frequency table. So in other words, we would look at the number of responses that are Democratic, number of responses for Republicans, number of responses for others, and record those, just the simple counts. That's called the frequency. And then the relative frequency would be the percentage of those. We'll get into the details of that table in just a minute because I'll show you how to do that with a spreadsheet. Once that's done, then of course we could make a pie chart. I'm sure we've all seen these at some time. The advantages of the pie chart is there really is no implied order in the classes in the chart. For instance, there's no reason to think here that the Republicans are listed first, the Democrats second, and other third, because of the circular nature of the boundary of the chart. On the other hand, it can be a little bit hard to make by hand. It's not, of course, hard to make with technology. It can be quite hard to read if there are a large number of classes, because at least some of the sectors in the circle would become quite small. Bar graphs, on the other hand, look a lot like histograms, except we're not to imply that there's any order to the classes. Let's just move ahead and take a look at one. This on the right is a bar chart. You'll notice that there are some white spaces between the bars there, and that is supposed to be a hint that you're not looking at a histogram. The distinction will be a little bit more clear when we get a chance to see histograms, so let's just leave it at that for right now. Those are pie charts and bar charts, but it would be nice to know how to make some of these with Excel. These can be constructed by hand, but if we do that, first of all, it's not very convenient. The results are usually less satisfactory, and in a professional context, these things are almost always done with a spreadsheet. So let's jump over to Excel to take a look and see how that would be done. Here I've started up Excel, and I have simply typed in the frequency chart that we had in our earlier documents, and the party is just the same, Democrat, Republican, or other. Frequencies are listed here, and let me, for those of us who are maybe a little bit less familiar with spreadsheets, mention how we can get the totals and the relative frequency. What you want to do is first of all click in the cell that where you'd like to do your calculation. Then I press the equal sign, and notice that gets entered up here in this area of the spreadsheet, and I can also see it appearing as I type down here. And then I'm going to use a function. I type the word sum, and that gives me a drop-down list. I simply click on that, I double-click on that, and now this parenthesis says, lets me know that it's waiting for me to tell it the sum of what. What I'm going to do is highlight, clicking and dragging, highlight this part of the column Down here we see C4 colon C6. It means to take the sum of all the numbers in C4 to C6. I can type in my last parenthesis, press enter, and it tells me that there are 40 entries there. Now, in the relative frequency, what I'd like is to compute 13 divided by 40, 18 divided by 40, etc. I'll do this in a similar way. You click the cell that you'd like to get your formula in, press equal. Now, I could type in the 13, then the slash for divide, and then the 40, and press enter. The disadvantage of that is I'm going to have to actually type the numbers in on each one of these cells. If I had say 50 rows, that would be pretty inconvenient. Furthermore, let's suppose later I found out, oh, there was a mistake here, so I type in a 12 to correct that. Notice that is not going to update this. I'd have to update this separately. So putting this back to the 13, I would like to come up with a method that will automatically update if something changes over here. So what I'm going to do is highlight this cell. I'll press backspace to delete what I had there before, press the equal, and now I'll get a formula by simply clicking here. C4 means to look at the cell C4, type the slash for divide, and then type the 40. Now that's good, but I can make it better. Equals the C4 cell divide by the C7 cell, and then I press the F4 key, which changes this to an absolute reference. What that means is this. Let's press enter, and I've got my formula. Now, if I highlight this cell and grab right in the lower right hand corner, I can drag that down, which will copy that formula to the cells below. And so if I click here and look at my formula bar, I see that I have C5 that has updated the row number to 5 to match this one, but it did not update here. The $C, $7 means dollar in front of the C means do not change the column when you copy, and dollar in front of the 7 means do not change the 7 when you copy. Likewise here, that has C7 because that was changed to an absolute reference. If I'd like now, I could go over to this cell, and I'm going to press the Control and then the C key to copy. Click over here, Control and V key in order to paste that formula, and now I have transferred this sum formula to that part of the table. You'll notice that when I copied and dragged this, it did muck up my formatting a bit. That's fairly easy to fix. What I'll do is highlight these cells by clicking and dragging. Right click gives me the format. I can click on format cells, and what I'm interested in now is the border. It's the interior that I care about, so I will ask it to go back to this dashed interior. Click on the dash, click on the inside, OK, and that has returned my formatting to what I had before. So here's how I can make my table. Now in this column here I have text data, and in this column here I have numerical data. That's important for the step that we're going to do next. The next step is to make a pie chart. So what I'm going to do is highlight these interior cells of the table. Then I'm going to click on Insert. Then I'm going to click on Pie Chart, and there's a number of options here. I'm just going to take the basic one in the upper left hand corner. Click on that, and I automatically have a pie chart. These charts can be resized by clicking a corner or clicking certain parts of the boundaries on the side. You'll see the dots here that indicate those sizing handles. Notice that when I'm clicked in the chart, my context menu changes, so I have options here for a chart that appear. If I click outside of the chart, I go back to my standard menu. So I'm going to click in the chart. I'd like to experiment with these. First of all, the chart layouts. Notice that by clicking different layouts, I have several options here. What I'm going to do is take the one on the left. It gives the category name and the percentage in each one of these sectors, and I think that's helpful for reading. My title can be edited, so we'll edit that in that way, and this gives us a pie chart that works pretty nicely. You'll notice that these percentages, the 23, the 32, it's actually 32.5, and 45, I did not have to include those relative frequencies when I made the chart. Those were computed and entered automatically. So that's how to make a pie chart. Well, let's move that out of the way and let's take a look at the bar charts. We're going to proceed in the same way. So if we were starting from scratch here, we would highlight the interior cells of the table. It is important for this that we have text data for our category names and that we have numerical data for the frequency. We choose Insert, then Column, and I'll take the basic clustered column, it's called here, in the upper left hand corner, and that gives me a bar chart. A number of things can be changed here. Notice once again I have chart layouts, so I can choose the one that I like. Let's choose this one in this case. There are styles, so colors mostly are what we're going to notice with such a simple chart. And if I were to click on one of these bars, you'll notice that it highlights all of the bars in the chart. The thing I really want to pay attention to right now is that I can right click in that bar and I can choose Format Data Series. That allows me to make some changes. On such a simple chart, you're not going to notice much, well, you're not going to notice any change with the overlap. However, with the gap width, that is referring to this white space between the bars. 150% means that the width of this gap is 1.5 times the width of the bar. So if I were to say change that to 36%, you'll see that I have a much narrower gap between them. Of course, that widened out the bars, but I could narrow them by simply changing the width of my chart. Clicking back on the bar width, I have the option of making my bars very narrow, or putting a lot of white space between them, or very little. Once we're in the chart, it is possible to make some changes to formatting here. For instance, I can click on these horizontal lines. If I didn't like them, I could click on the delete button now, and it would take them away. This series 1, that's really not very helpful legend, since there is only one series. If I wanted to get rid of that, once it's highlighted, I could press the delete key and that would take that out as well. So, and of course this can be edited just like we can for the pie chart. So that's a basic bar chart and a little bit of the ways that we can edit it for our preferences. So that takes care of the section on summarizing qualitative data with tables and charts.